All right, everybody, come on in, come on in. We are so happy to have you here. Welcome back to the Wives Club. Some of us are en route. My apologies, you all. I am on my way to my Airbnb, but we're going to kick this off anyway. Thank you all so much for being here. So allow me to introduce myself, and then we'll let the ladies introduce themselves. And we have a very special guest that you all know and love. But my name is Maggie, and in 2021, I actually booked a session with the late, great Kevin Samuels because I always used to get convicted whenever he would ask, where are the older women to teach the young? And I asked his permission in that session to create a community of like-minded and marriage-minded women. But I wanted to do it within the privacy of his Patreon. And I'm so grateful. Not only did Kevin give us his permission, he came up with the name, The Wives Club. So what we do is we use his content to review, talk about our action items and our lessons learned to help the community. So it started with just me, and then after me, AB joined us in the Wives Club. AB, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is AV. I am a future wife. And like Maggie, I also had the opportunity to do a few coaching sessions with Kevin one on one. I think it was 2 summers ago at this point. So, really excited to, you know, share some of the things that I learned from him. I always have my notebook handy from those sessions. And that wasn't even just style ups, things of the like. It was really tangible dating advice to be marriage ready, but also how to sustain a relationship after you get into one. So I'm really, really excited to share those teachings here.
All right, fantastic. And then after AV joined us in the Wives Club, Lisa joined us in the Wives Club. Lisa, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa. I am a current wife of 17 years to a wonderful Henry, and I'm happy to be back and continuing Kevin's message. So happy to be here.
Fantastic. And after Lisa joined us, Hermeisha joined us in the Wives Club. Hermeisha, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here as well. My name is Hermeisha, and like AV, like Maggie, like all of us, we had the opportunity and really the privilege to meet with the late Kevin Samuels. And as y'all know, he was working with me to try to help me save my marriage at the time. And here I am on the other side of this, really here to help give back, and excited to get into the topic today.
All right, so I would be remiss. You all see somebody new on the screen here. I am so honored that none other than Miss Melanie King agreed to this collab with the Wives Club today. So please, Miss Melanie, please introduce yourself in case anybody doesn't know who you are.
Sure. So Melanie King. I'm on YouTube. I do just content. If you don't know, just go check it out. I had the honor of Kevin's birthday was this past Monday. I had the honor to be with Kevin on his last birthday. If you want to see some clips of that of his last birthday, check me out on Instagram. I put this up to honor him, but he was a good friend to me and a mentor, and just like the other ladies, I do believe the work that he did really was to build relationships, to build marriages, and to help women in particular get the results that they want through some very hard truths that are difficult to digest. But if you can get past the difficulties of it, I do believe that there is a saving grace in the end of that, and I think all of these ladies would agree. So.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Melanie. All right, everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and kick this off. We've got a few rounds of questions that everybody is going to take a crack at. And we see you all coming in the chat. Shout out to the lead attorney. You all know several of us are proud students of the lead attorney. And the Wives Club came out of the shadows after the San Diego meetup. So thank you so much for being here. Okay, so the first question that we are asking is, what did the older women teach you about marriage? And so I will take a crack at it, and then we'll go around. So I do come from a very strong traditional nuclear family. A little bit about me: I was married at 25 to my college boyfriend, married for 10 years, 2 children from the marriage. Unfortunately, it did end in divorce because I had that modern mindset. But since the marriage, I have been in another long-term relationship with a 1% man, which means I've had to do a lot of work to transition from that modern mindset to the more traditional support system. So what I do remember from my parents, especially watching my mom, understanding that marriage is a duty. And I know as women, and we are emotional and having kind of that, how we move from moment to moment, there was a consistent delivery that my mom had every day in supporting my dad, in supporting the family, whether she felt like it or she didn't, whether she was happy or she wasn't. I remember that consistency. And that was one of the first things that she actually taught me without saying too much, but she taught me by showing that marriage is a duty and you have a responsibility. So that was the first thing for me. Avi, I'm going to come to you. What did the older women teach you about marriage?
Thank you, Maggie. And I would totally agree. I think sometimes if you come from a place where there is a lot of structure, family-wise, that's helpful. Realizing that not everyone comes from that place, right? Luckily for me, I actually learned more from my grandmother when it comes to marriage and relationships more than the generation that came after that. It's so funny because, Melanie mentioned Kevin's birthday recently happening this past Monday. So lately I've been checking out his content more and more. And he did say something that kind of struck a chord with me. And that was really like how the generation that comes after your grandmother sometimes, you start to see a divide happen. And it was so interesting for me because all of my aunts are in their 40s and 50s and ain't nobody got no man right now, right? So that was really, really interesting to me. However, my grandparents were married for 50 years. I recently lost my grandfather last summer. So this was a tough thing. But what I would say is that my grandmother did a really good job at teaching us all how to be domesticated, right? The domestic things, cooking, cleaning, all of those things. However, I would say that there are some indirect things that I learned from my grandparents' marriage, meaning sometimes some fights are just not worth it. Sometimes some disagreements are just not worth it because I saw a lot of regret after that passing when it came to some of the things that my grandmother did. And for me, that was the biggest indirect lesson that she didn't directly teach me, but that was a huge thing to reflect on after I saw it. So, a little bit personal. Don't want to, start with doom and gloom, but definitely wanted to share that, because, a lot of us come to this space to learn, right? And it's some of those things that happen in this community where you're learning from some of the things that happen in our real lives, right? Not just, people shouting on a panel here on YouTube. We want to make sure that the people that come to this community are actually taking things away. So that's the first thing I have this week, Meg.
Thank you so much for saying that, AV. And yes, we share from our own personal experience. I'm coming to you, Lisa. I just wanted to respond to Double C said, hello, ladies. I thought y'all would be on tonight. Usually we are there Friday evenings. However, both Melanie and myself are in London, and apologies, guys, I'm still in the Uber. There is a strike on public transportation, so the trains are closed, so the streets are packed. So I am on my way to my Airbnb, but that is why the schedule did change just for today. But Lisa, I'm going to come to you from your perspective. What did the older women teach you about marriage?
They taught me the importance of it. My mom, especially, like I learned leadership from my mom because, as you know, my mom has 4 children, and I'm the oldest daughter of the 4. And anytime we wanted to do something, she's like, "Well, ask your father, or I have to see what your dad says." So it's like, it works from the head down, and what my dad would say goes. And I learned that from an early age, from my mom's example, having both my parents in my home, and also what I learned from the other women in my family, throughout our family is, I guess when I started listening to Kevin, I could see throughout our family, going back, looking at different generations, you can see where there wasn't a man in our family, where certain things just kind of, the family didn't do as well as it had in the past, I guess is the best way to put it. And I would also say, like, for me and my sisters, other women in our family who didn't get married or decide to have kids in different ways or other ways outside of getting married, like my parents did, we could see how their families and their situations were a little harsher and a little more struggle. So for me, my sisters, me talking to them growing up, we're like, yeah, we see what not to do. And it was being, it was very vast different from what other people did. So once we saw the example, we're like, no, we're not gonna follow that example, because people would talk. My dad's got three daughters. You got three girls. You got three problems. Three nice looking girls, and you might have a handful when they get older. But no, my father taught us well, and we had a good example. So we had good and bad examples throughout our family structure, and so I feel like, if anything, they taught us what to do and what not to do. But in my case, most of it was what not to do, and I'm thankful for that. So, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Lisa. Now, Hermeisha, I'm coming to you. What did the older women teach you about marriage?
Yeah, this is a really good question. I would say, like you, Maggie, it wasn't necessarily a sit down. I think the women that I was around, you all know I was raised by my father, but he had six sisters. And they were all married. And so it wasn't sort of like a sit down, this is what you do, this is what you don't do, but it was more about how I saw them kind of model that, if you will. And a lot of us from the South, I'm born and raised in California, but a lot of my folks are from Mississippi. So, they were cooking, and I saw all of that, and serving the man, all the things, right? So we see these visual representation, but what I realized as a former wife, no one really taught me what submission actually looks like in action. That's huge, right? No one taught me how to be inspirational. Yeah, I can cook, I can serve my man, I can massage his head and do all the things, which are very good things, ladies, right? But the role of a wife, the number one role of a wife, is to be a helpmeet to her husband. Obviously, knowing the type of husband you end up with, right? But the other part of that, or the sub part of that role, is submission, because you're trusting him to lead you, to follow you. He's operated in his role, and you're operated in your role as a submitted wife to him as you serve him, right? And so I would say, as I'm reflecting on this question, I didn't see that. I didn't, not to say that my aunts never submitted to their man, but I think this is maybe the gap in the teaching of how we teach wives how to love their husbands. And the way we teach them how to love their husband is through the submission piece. And Kevin talked about that. He called it cooperation. He called it having an agreeable spirit. Because when we talk about femininity, like we talked about last week, it's a heart posture. So you have to have a soft heart to be able to say, yes, I trust this man with my whole being, because I know he means well for me. So I would say, if looking back, I wish somebody would have sat me down. I think the modeling of the cooking and the cleaning and the serving, I think that's great. I think what I realized, again, as a former wife of 10 years, and I learned this along the way, my husband would tell me at the time, I don't like how you're talking to me. I don't like your tone. Right. And I had to learn during the time, and I, worked on that. But I wonder where I would have been, or how I would have started off in my marriage, had somebody set me down and said, Hermeisha, this is what submission looks like in action. This is how you actually inspire a man and call forth the king in that man, and all the things, right? So anyway, that's what I would say on that.
All right, thank you so much, Hermeisha. So, Miss Melanie King, I am coming to you. We've watched your channel. I know you come from a strong family background. What did the older women teach you about marriage?
Outside of my family, actually, I relate a lot to what a lot of the women said. I had good examples in my family, bad examples. My parents have been married 43 years. Like some of you, I was married for nearly 12 years. I always like to say, I did not foul or cheat. This is not to give myself any clout or things, but I know there's a narrative that all women do. But when I say sometimes, things just happen. For any ladies that have been married, So just to give you guys a background, but I want to take it back a little bit further than just like my direct examples. I was raised very heavily in church. I went to Christian school my entire life. I even went to Christian college for 1 year. So my examples were biblical, the Bible. So I was raised, learning the stories about Esther and Ruth, and even about Delilah and Jezebel, and learning about, Sarah and Abraham, Rebecca, women of the Bible who, had to overcome a lot of the things that we think are challenges today. We have no idea what those women actually went through. But I was taught from day one, you know, to embody the characteristics of these great women from the Bible historically. And really, that was really where I learned. I mean, that's where the Bible talks about older women teaching the younger women. So that for me was foundational, my entire life. And I grew up in an environment where it kind of shocked me, once I found out what the kind of dating world was today, because I didn't know women weren't fixing a man a plate. I didn't know submission was a dirty word. I grew up where this was commonplace. I couldn't wear my dress above my knees growing up. Man had to open doors for me. All the women would serve the men, in my family and in church, still to this day. So for me, my entire environment, school, church, and home life was, you know, examples of women, not perfect people, because even women in the Bible were not perfect. And Jesus' bloodline is a prostitute. Okay, so he's a direct descendant of a prostitute. So we need to understand that we're not talking about perfection here, but it's about growth and maturity and learning the lessons, and gaining the wisdom. And you can make mistakes, but it's never too late to start. And so for me, that's been like, it's almost secondhand knowledge. And this is why it's important for us ladies to be raising our daughters with, this is just the standard, the mindset. Their environment is promotes this. You can't shelter your children, you can't protect them from everything, but I strongly believe that, if you raise up a child in the way that they should go, okay, then when they're older, when that girl is older, these will be secondhand. She won't be trying to learn femininity. She won't have to be learning submission. She won't have to be, learning things that really should be foundational in terms of her growth and maturity as a child. So many of us now are having to backtrack, but I will say, without a doubt, in my opinion, the strongest examples of women who embody this are in the Bible. Doesn't mean you have to be, if you're not a Christian, you're not I'm not very religious now, I consider myself more spiritual. But if you want to go back and there's people who've done deep dives on it, in my opinion, those are the oldest women to learn from. And if they could overcome what they have gone through, and you'd be surprised at how much it relates to today and the things that we modern women are experiencing today.
Thank you so much for saying that, Melanie. I really appreciate that. And I really resonate with what you said. And I heard Lisa and Hermeisha too talk about some of the things that were examples of what we shouldn't do. So we will move on to question number 2. Our agenda has 3 points. You all can see it in the description. And I always use Kevin Samuel's content as our reference. So at the bottom of the description, there is a link where Kevin was actually admonishing an older woman for not teaching. So I'm so glad that we have this space. So we talked about what we did learn. The second question is going to be about, what do we wish the older women had taught us about marriage? So like Hermeisha and like Melanie, I was married for 10 plus years, and we co-parent well now. It's amicable, but I had to learn some things along the way. So specifically for me, because we all share from our personal experience here, I grew up with a mom who has sickle cell, so the trait runs in my family. And so my mom, even though she was like a super mom, she was chronically ill. So I grew up kind of seeing her go in and out of the hospital. And she's fine now. It's just been a journey, you all understand. So that put kind of pressure on me to step up very early. At 13, I was cooking and cleaning the house top to bottom, doing laundry for everyone just because I had to in case my mom couldn't. I'm a naturally strong person. Thank God I'm healthy. And I had a lot of gusto in my 20s. And now at 47, when I say I hit the wall, for me, that means part of my issue was thinking I can do everything a man can do until I'm 65, that 50-50 partnership, and 2 kids and a marriage and, the dog and all of that later, 35, 40, it hit me. And I realized, whoa, I don't want to do this for another 20 years. So the mistake that I made was probably choosing someone for that moment in time and not for, a lifetime. Because when I was ready to say, can I take a step back? The expectation was like, no, you signed up for this, breadwinner role or whatever. I need you to keep pushing. And that's how I hit the wall, and I've learned my lesson. So to answer that question, I wish I had been told, okay, Maggie, I know you feel like you can do everything now, but you're not going to want to do everything when you're 30 with 2 kids and 40 and 50. So that's the message that I try to pass on. So Avi, I'm going to come to you. What do you wish the older women in your family had taught you about marriage?
Thank you, Maggie. And I would agree with a lot of what you had mentioned before. Like sometimes it's good to know where the warning signs are. Like if we could just have a map, like this is the path that you need to go down, right? I would say for me, it's 2 things. I talked a lot about my grandparents' marriage and how there's a lot of regrets. I think one thing that I would have loved to learn was how to have healthy debate and conflict. That sounds a little crazy coming from a law student, right? But at the same time, I think that there are ways to conflict with your man in a very healthy way, but also sometimes just knowing what debates and conflicts are just not worth it to have, right? I would say that's the number one thing I learned from my grandparents' marriage. I've kind of just thrown some Portuguese here because I just remember my grandfather saying this to my grandmother all the time. He would say, "Mulher, you all todo dia tem problema," meaning every day she has a problem with something he does. And he would laugh it off and he would go for a walk and start whistling. So after a time, like after a certain amount of time, he's like, okay, you're complaining about small things again today. He would just walk away, right? And that when I say that there's a level of regret, that's what I think my grandmother was reflecting on is, you know what? He was such a positive man. Some of these things were just not worth it. They're just not worth it, right? So I would say the first thing that I wish I learned a little bit more closely is to conflict in a healthy way, right? The second thing I would say is, I'm in my early 30s. I am so happy I found Kevin when I did, right? Because I feel much more equipped to be ready for a marriage. But also he really taught me how to value what how I'm a utility to a man, right? And how to use that as a feminine superpower, right? Because he's like, the right man will find that and really treat you well because of it. But instead of leading with education and all of these things, he's just like, AV, I know you're going to win. Wear that dress every day. Do this, make sure you would do these things. And I remember Kevin checking on me. He would send me emails like, hey, did you do that thing I told you to do? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, somebody's going to wife you with the quickest, right? So it was really, really good to have that encouragement. But I wish that I had this encouragement from the women, the older women in my life, right? To tell me where the resources were. Instead of me having to go invest in, to Melanie's point, having to invest thousands of dollars in femininity training, sophistication training, going into all of these things. Like, it's just, it makes it much more easier when it comes from the family instead of going to have to go and invest and pay for it and learn from other places. But also want to compliment Melanie too, because there are women in this space that really are out here helping. Melanie, one of my first videos that I watched that you had, you were talking about the book, I think it was 8 Dates. I went out and purchased it and it was really, really good. But that's what I mean about having other women to give you the resources and tell you where to go, learning from their mistakes. So that way you're much more equipped. So just wanted to give you a shout out for that one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you so much, AV. So, Lisa, I'm going to come to you. I know you talked a little bit about having examples in your family of what to do and what not to do, but what do you wish the older women in your family had taught you about marriage?
I wish they would have taught me about marriage is how important it is to take care of the home and be supportive at home and be supportive to your husband and his in with his endeavors. And not my mom was a great example of that, but I'm saying like my grandmas and my great grandmas and the women in my family, the older women in my family, like my great aunts and stuff. Because a lot of the focus was, are you doing good in school? Are you making good grades? And there's nothing wrong with that. But growing up in the 80s and 90s, the focus was, good grades, go out and get a good job and all that kind of stuff. And I guess, and hopefully don't get pregnant before you're at a high school or college. So, but and make sure you get all your educational stuff done before you start looking for a man. I think that was kind of out of order a little bit, listening to Kevin and looking back, because I think for a lot of the girls in my family, it kind of hurt us, and like we put off a lot of things because we were kind of taught that same modern stuff. We did, I mean, we didn't have any. We got our education and stuff, but we kind of put off the marriage and the family. For the most part, I say we did it in the right order. But I'm looking back now, a lot of us didn't start having kids till after 30 and after college and stuff like that. I mean, we had good role models, but it was just still a little out of order because, like Maggie's been saying, your energy is in your 20s. So if you're trying to have kids after 30, like I had my daughter at 35. I mean, it's not 35, 39, and have a 5-year-old as a 44-year-old woman, married woman. So I think that's what I would have wished they would have influenced more, because when I look back, my grandmas, they had homes, they had gardens, they took care of the family in the times they had. And my mom and my dad are like, oh yeah, we had a great childhood. They didn't have much, but what they had was love and feeling and good meals and good family and good community to embrace everybody. And so I would just think, if that was a little more encouraged, and I would definitely gonna do my part to encourage my generation and my children to do the same, because I think it's important. My favorite memories of the 80s is being an 80s kid, being able to run outside and play, and coming home after school or after being outside, and my mom's like, here's some cookies, some Kool-Aid or sandwiches or whatever, and then go back out and play with the rest of the neighborhood, and then come back. I don't know if it's going to be like that for my daughter, but I'm going to try to make it as close as possible. So I just wish that was a little more enforced, or talked about by the older women in my family. So that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Okay, Hermeisha, I'm coming to you. I know you shared that you were raised by your father, but what do you wish the older women in your life had taught you about marriage?
Yeah, I would say more in a global sense. Like I said, my aunts, I saw them model a few things, and the submission piece, I think we can all do better with teaching what it looks like in action. The other thing I would say though, is just this there's a lack of vulnerability, and a little bit of transparency. I think we get the impression of a lot of women, oh, it's all about the dress and the day and all the things, and we get caught up in that, and we see, couples. Granted, there's prudence in what you share, and this is why I really appreciate this space, because we are sharing from our own experiences when we, as Maggie would say, bumped our head and stubbed our toe, right? As former, current, and future wives. And so I think that that's what's needed. That people need to know that you're going to go through seasons in your relationship, and it's going to test you. It's going to test you. And the other part of femininity is being courageous to be able to stand even in the hard times. Right. And I love what Melanie said. I think that, as a woman of faith, as a Christian woman, that's my foundation. When I think about what is a wife, what is a role of a wife. I mean, Kevin taught, that's why I said Kevin was low key teaching Bible study. I was like, and that was his history. He was over the singles ministry in his church. He talked about these things. He was a believer. And so I echo what Melanie is saying, y'all know that's the perspective I come from. I know we have different faith perspectives, but if we just look at historical women in the Bible, it's very clear how they modeled femininity. And it's actually a little sad that we have to teach this now. It just shows how far we've strayed, but it is a necessity, right? One of my favorite stories is Esther. When we talk about being a woman of courage, and we read the book of Esther and how she stood and prayed and interceded and won the favor of the king. And it stopped the whole war. So I think we can learn a lot. So I would say more teaching, more modeling of what it's like to just be a woman. Just be a woman, be a lady. And as a woman, what does that look like in action, as a wife, as a helpmeet, and part of that being courageous. So that's what I would say. And this is really important for me because I'm raising two future wives I have two daughters. So if that answers the question, that's what I would say on that.
All right, thank you so much. All right, Miss Melanie, your time on the hot seat. I know you said you had a very strong faith-based upbringing, but is there anything you wish the older women had taught you about marriage?
One thing I would just want to say really quickly to piggyback on what you're saying about Esther, a lot of people, I've done like deep dives in Esther. Y'all don't understand growing up the way I did. But one of the points that there's nuggets, and this is just to point out why there's nuggets in, and even if you want to just take the Bible as a historical book. Okay, if you're not a person of Christianity, that doesn't matter. But this is the lesson that's in that. A lot of people miss it. But Esther, there's so many nuggets in this story that if I to extract. But one of the things, the reason why she was able to save her people, she found out that the king Haman was against the Jews. They wanted to kill all the Israelites, the Hebrew people, and she was Hebrew. Her husband, he was like basically second in command to her husband, who was the king. And so when she found out this news, she didn't go right away to the king and tell him what happened. She didn't start berating him and start crying and being dramatic. She took a vow of silence and fasted in front of him. Instead of bringing it to him, she waited until he noticed her countenance, the Bible says, was low, that she wasn't eating, that she was taking a vow of silence. And it concerned him after 3 days, I believe. And he finally asked her what's going on, because he could see the seriousness, because she was not normally this way. She wasn't abrasive. She wasn't anything. She stepped back and withdrew, not in a nasty way, but she was praying, and she knew God told her to be silent. Don't bring this to that man immediately. And don't berate him. Don't act on your own. Let him come to you and want to problem solve. And because of that, she was able to save her entire people. Had she done it any other way, there would be no Israelites. There would be no Jewish people. And so there's a nugget of femininity just in how she behaved in that way. So I always encourage people, this is what you can learn from the Bible. If you have something important, something that, don't nagging your husband, trying to, make it do all of that. These are the examples that will teach you about, things that will turn the heart of even a king to save an entire nation of people. So that's the power of femininity. People think submission and femininity and quietness and stillness and not forcing the point is meaning you're weak and that nothing will get done, when instead her meekness, her humility, her willingness to submit not only to her husband but to God, and how she would conduct herself, because the matter was so serious, she was able to save her entire nation. And just so you know, she was an orphan. So her parents had been killed previously, and she was raised by her uncle. You talked about how you were raised by your father, but look at how feminine she was. So I'm sorry. That was a side preaching note, y'all. Just skip through it. Okay.
You are totally fine, Melanie. That's why we wanted you here. We wanted your perspective. No problem at all. Thank you so much for that. And I love the story of Esther. Privately, I read the Bible through every year. And the story of Esther is really just one about grace under fire. And I know we have a lot of different faiths or people who don't believe, but I love what you said, Melanie, about being strong in a feminine way. That's a whole nother topic that
Yeah.
we could talk about in our communities. And I have to shout out, I don't want to dox you, but AL just sent a $5 donation. Thank you so much for the $5 Cash App. We appreciate you all's support. We have been growing, and Melanie King's Cash App is also in the description. So thank you all for supporting us.
Cash at me. Do not cash at me. You send it to this lady here. Do not cash at me. This is her platform. She deserves it. So please do not. I'm sending it to you if it comes my way. So
Thank you so much. And all four of us, the ladies' Cash Apps are in the ticker in the bottom. We appreciate the support. But we really started this community again. We've been doing this since 2021 privately because we wanted to help the community and it also helps us. Okay, so the third and final round we will take. And then if you all have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Again, we wanted to come on during the lunch hour, so we appreciate you all being flexible. The last question is, what are you, meaning me and those of us in the Wives Club, what are you doing to teach the young? Because again, we are responding to one of Kevin's most asked questions, and he put a lot of it on the women because he would say out of frustration, I can only do so much. The women have to teach the young. Okay. So you all know that I'm a boy mom, 2 sons and no sisters. So I love that I have this community, but wherever I can, to tell young women it is okay to be a late bloomer. I am the quintessential late bloomer. I was married young, and I think having that support system of women who want you to win and knowing that you're going to be swimming upstream. I've been corporate since college, and the mistake that I made was trying to befriend women that didn't have the same life, marriage, and family goals that I did. I've been shouted down, I've been laughed at, I've been, told whatever, but fast forward and me staying true to who I am, a lot of those people who had something to say wish they had made different choices. So that's what I want to encourage, especially any younger women listening, that it is going to be going against the grain, but hold on. If this is what you want, it's definitely worth it. All right, AB, I'm going to come to you. What are you doing to teach the young?
Yeah, thank you, Maggie. I talked a lot about resources and knowing where to find them. And, I think that that's one thing that I'm passing along to my peers and also what I'm learning throughout the process. One of the most powerful things Kevin mentioned to me was for me to stop dating my peers. I was dating people that were very, very close in age to me, but those men weren't ready. At that age, they were not ready. So I started finding ways to invest in myself, to make myself 1% better every single day to get ready for this, right? Whether that is investing in elegance training. Anna Bay had a really good school. Both Maggie and I had taken that course. So that was really, really fun to be able to do it with someone taking it at the same time. That also leads me to another point, which is find your tribe. Who are the women in your life that are thinking the same way, that are like-minded? That's why I love the Wives Club so much, because we all come from different walks of life. We come from different ages, and just being able to be in a space and in a community where other women are willing to learn, whether they've been formerly married, currently married, hopeful to do this in the future. Finding your tribe is the huge thing. I did mention that last week, but if I have to drill it in y'all's head for the next few weeks, I will, right? The other big, big thing is listen to the men, listen to what they say they want, and do it. It's so easy. And I think they've been trying to mention that to us. Like, we really need to consider their voices, their opinions, what they look for in a woman, right? What they look for in a long-term relationship. But, one thing I'll leave you guys with is I actually went back to some of Kevin's interviews that he's done with other people to see what it was that he wanted, right? I have a list here. He said that he wanted someone he could be himself with, that understands who he is, that lets him do what he does, that would match his irregular flow and understand the impact of legacy. I thought that was super powerful, and definitely something that I wanted to leave you guys with this week is to really start thinking about those things. And real quick before I forget, shout out to Maggie and her. I see you in the chat. Thank you so much. She sent over a $5 Cash App. I appreciate you, Maggie, and so super happy to have you as part of this community as well.
All right, thank you so much,
Thank
Avi.
you.
No, I'm on the call right here. Sorry, y'all.
Have a good day.
I will.
And I'm so sorry for the traffic. I did my best to get you.
All right, Lisa, I'm going to come to you, and you all, I'm
I
going to
got
drop.
it.
But thank you, Kita G, for the Cash App. And yes, Lisa, what are you doing to teach the young?
I am sharing the good information. I'm one of those personalities that likes to, when I find out something good or a good deal, I want to share it with everyone. So that's what I'm doing, and that's why I'm here at the Wives Club, and I'm really honored to do this because I like to share good information. So this is right up my alley. So this is what I'm passionate about. This makes me happy and puts a smile on my face. So if I can help young women try to find better outcomes and in the situation they're in, if they're still looking and stuff, that's what I want to do. I want to help people, and I want to have more nuclear families in our community as well. So that was the big things for me. And as I have a daughter myself who's 5, who will be on the market in many few years, I want her to be, she's going to be a wife, and she's going to be a well-trained and ready wife. So I want her to be ready, and I've got to set that example like my mom set it for me and my sister. So so she can have a great outcome as well. So that's what I've signed up to do, and that's what I'm here to do.
That's great.
So,
Awesome.
Oh, go ahead, Avi. Did you?
I was just going to say, Hermeisha, jump in.
All right, so
Sorry, I forgot
Hermeisha.
Maggie was gone.
Because I didn't know if Maggie had left. Yeah. Okay. So, I have 2 girls. So what I'm intentional with, and I used to homeschool them. Now that things have changed, they're in public school. But for me, homeschooling is in my heart, and just in general. When you, as a woman, as a wife, you're naturally a teacher, And so with my girls, I randomly give them pop quizzes, and I posted one actually on my Instagram. Pop quiz: what does it mean to be a wife? And my little one said, to follow your husband. And so, I think that this is important. So I would say that's how I'm teaching my little ones, really teaching them, just training them in the way that they should go so they don't depart, right? Giving them a strong foundation, because at the end of the day, I'm trying to prepare them for this world, for them to stand firm as young women and as future wives, and knowing how to choose well the first time around. So I'm really intentional with that. And it's just a joy. It's such a joy as I think about them. And that also reminds me to be more intentional. The other thing I'm intentional with, there's times where I raise my voice. What are you doing? You're not supposed to be doing that. Or if I, did something out of line. The other thing that they're watching, how I come to them and I take responsibility and I apologize. Or I'll say, you know what, mommy was reactive. Like, I apologize for that. You know what I mean? And so I think our girls need to see that, what humility looks like in action as well, right? I don't know about you all, but there's a lot of folks in the community that never heard their parents apologize to them, that never heard them say, you know what, I was wrong for that, right? Right. And so I think that that's just as important, because this is teaching us interpersonal skills and how to be in relationships, how to be cooperative, how to conflict, as Avi said, right? So that's what I'm intentional with. And even in my practice as a clinician, I had a couple just last night, with the concept of the older women teaching the younger. Obviously, I'm not as older, but that could apply to if you're just a year older than someone, if you will, and teaching them how to, in this situation, there was a young couple, and it was a submission issue, and, giving them some wise counsel, right? So that can look many different ways. So I would just say, have a heart posture to give back. If you've struggled in a certain area and you've improved, or you're having a hard time and you're like, look, this is what I know works for me. I want to instill this in you. Don't do what I did. Like, that is so needed, because people need to know that you don't always have it together. And we may see you, you may not look like you've been through the fire, but we want to know how you got out the fire. Right. And so that's what I would say. Be willing to be transparent and to teach and give back. So, and that's why we're here.
Look
Okay.
at that. Maggie's back.
Here she is. You made it, girl. You made it. London is crazy today.
Maggie's working. Bless you, Maggie.
I'm going to say I agree with everything the ladies here said. One of the things that to teach younger women, is, like I said, it's an evolving process for me because my audience is strongly men. And I have, of course, like all types of men, but I have a influx of high value men that reach out to me. And I will not reveal who these men are, but when I tell you, these are men that are, they're what a lot of women want. In the beyond top 1%. And they tell me what they think. They all agree with Kevin. First of all, let's make that clear. All of them. I haven't had one give me pushback. Maybe some are just like, well, I don't know enough of what I've seen. He seems cool, like that type of thing. But none of them have a problem with it. And from all different races and, from a lot of sports, a lot of corporate guys, even music industry people, not only executives, but even, this is going to sound crazy, even rappers. I know that sounds insane. Even the ones that are doing degenerate things, but they all across the board agree with the messaging that the ladies are talking about here, that the men in the space are talking about. And so what I see as teaching young women is that what you want, what you say you want, it's going to take you willing to, break yourself of old habits and of old mindsets and embrace what men are looking for, as long as you stay in rebellion, because that's what I call it. It is rebellion. Most of us young, women and young women are operating in a way to get another woman. We dress in a way, our makeup, the way we act, it attracts women, girlfriends and friends, or it attracts low value men. And I don't just mean monetary, but low value in character, who want to just sleep with you. They may not say anything to you, but us ladies are here telling you. And a lot of these guys that are super high, and when I just want to, I'm not saying it to brag. I'm saying it because, like, when I say this, I think people think I'm not, like, hopefully I'll be able to reveal some things, but I mean, like, top of the level. Okay. Who, and they say, how can you help me make me with a woman? These are guys that can get any woman. They're coming to me younger, mostly, than me. Some older than me as well, but they're mature and ready to have a wife. I'm like, you have beautiful women all around you. The answer, you have all of this. Why are you saying this to me? Why? Because they say their character, who they are. They look beautiful on the outside. They may have this and that. They may put on a mask of femininity, but it's not who they are at the core. So it drops at some point. And when it goes, that's when they end up in a situationship, or, in an entanglement with these women for years. But they don't make them a wife. And so what I want young women to know is that what we're talking about, what the ladies are talking about, the men are using us as a barometer for character of the women that they want. They are asking me, I've been asked to match make. And I always tell them, I can't just match make just a beautiful woman. They can do that on their own. But what are the inner characters and the qualities? Have this woman been vetted internally, who she is? So that this man, especially when they have a lot to lose, and just average men, we're talking, but I women like to focus on the high value. So that's where I go. The super high value, good looking guys. I say, if you if you are willing to put your pride to the side, stop being part of the sisterhood that is meant to keep you single and struggling. They don't want to see you win. They don't want to see you get a husband. They don't want to see you, especially a man worth something. There's a lot of jealousy and cattiness. It's not this kumbaya sisterhood. Over here, there is no competition. Like if I win, Maggie wins. Like all of us win, because who is for us is for us. Each of us have our lanes, but our goal is to help you guys so that you can get the best outcome. But so that would be the thing I would say for the younger women to learn, is to put your pride aside, because you will never get the results that you want. The men are speaking that you want. I promise. Think of one of the finest men that has been in the news lately that had a breakup recently that I've talked to, okay? And like these type of men are coming and talking to me, that y'all are thirsting over, but they are looking for a quality woman but he will never step near you because you refuse to take accountability and refuse to be have leadership over you or listen to other women. You just want to be, listen to the sisterhood that's out there that is teaching you to thought it up and to look nice, but that doesn't make you a wife. So that was a little long-winded, sorry.
I am here for it. And speaking of here, are you all able to hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You all, thank
Your
you so
Airbnb
much.
went to some lovely hotel break.
Oh my goodness. Yes, you all. I cannot say thank you enough. I see the UK investor had a question. Is Maggie in London? Yes, I am, you all. And it took me over 2 hours to go 30 minutes. There's a strike for the subway workers, so nothing underground is working. And so the roads were crazy. So my apologies for the back and forth. All right. So, what questions do you all have for us as former wives, future wives, and current wives? And again, in this space, the Wives Club is for anyone who has a marriage mindset. That is what I wanted to see more of when I had that session with Kevin, because I wasn't finding it with my girlfriends and my corporate colleagues and whatnot. So, this is the space that we create here. We really have a heart for reaching the younger women. So hopefully you all don't make some of the mistakes that we made. But the only way, like Melanie talked about being accountable, Kevin, that was that one of the biggest things he talked about was that self-awareness, right? And it starts with us saying, there were some things that I got right. And there were some things that I got wrong. And how we help is by being honest about what that is. So that's what we do here. I do want to shout out a few people, y'all. Sorry, I know Brandon said I was triple multitasking. Yes, I was trying to manage it from my phone. It was a lot. But I'm going to shout out a few people in the chat. We have covered the agenda, but we can definitely take you all's questions if you want to drop them in. So Brandon already, he has his questions on the ready. Oh boy. Do you believe YouTube is helping or hurting the majority of people? Okay, so I'll take a stab at this one and then we'll do a quick lap. We can say YouTube specifically and then social media in general. When I think of YouTube, and I do have a YouTube channel, it's only a year old. So prior to that, to me, YouTube was a place that I would go when I wanted to learn something. If I needed to assemble something, which I don't, but if I wanted to learn how, YouTube was kind of my how to. So for me, YouTube was a help. Now, some of the other social media, Instagram, TikTok, I wasn't as big on. Facebook was where I stayed connected with people from, high school or whatnot. But I definitely see the downside of social media, especially for young girls. And you all know we have two sons, so I don't have daughters, but that constant comparison doesn't really allow you to just kind of be like sometimes a little bit awkward, sometimes a little bit quirky, sometimes a little bit whatever's normal for you. Like I told you all, I'm a late bloomer and I have a very silly side. And so I do worry about the social media in that aspect. But AV, I'll come to you and let you take a stab at it. Do you believe YouTube specifically or social media is helping or hurting?
I think if you're not careful, it can certainly hurt, right? And I'll just share what I do to kind of filter my Zen space. Because for YouTube in particular, there are just like three things in order for me to subscribe to someone. As you guys know, I'm the lead attorney's co-host on his channel. So I have a tier of people that I watch that are in the law tube space. So that's one thing, because that's something I need to do for work, right? And also the second tier is content creators that I support. So people that I know from the space, or just others in the area that I want to keep an eye on, things like that, or just general content that I'm interested in, right? Then the third one, and I think that this is the most important thing, because we have to filter what type of information that we're allowing into our lives, right? And I encourage you guys to do this in your own life, whether you're a current wife, future wife, and even some of the men that are watching, because this channel is really strongly supported by men, right? Filter what you're taking in, right? You can scroll down a feed and see a bunch of crud if you're not careful. But whenever I see information that I don't need, and shout out to Hot Streak, that's right. That is correct. Information diet, right? Put it on a diet. Whatever you find is not helping you, don't watch it anymore. Don't allow it in your space, right? Because for me, I like to see information that helps me feel good, and not even just pandering, things like that. Like, I like to watch people that are either in the finance space, in the personal growth and development space, something that if I know I click on it, I'm not going to be disappointed. I think that's really, really important for all of us to kind of think about as we go on. And real quick, I've got a few cash apps to shout out. Shout out to AL. Thank you so much for the $5 cash app. Fawcett Media, thank you so much, brother, for the $10 cash app. And then, of course, our girl N Allen RX. Thank you so much, N Allen, for the $20 cash app. I appreciate all of them. I know the ladies appreciate them as well. And we appreciate all of you guys being here. We're a small but mighty channel and growing. So really, really appreciate it. And real quick with Fawcett, he did say, this is a quiet revolution. Keep going, ladies. So thank you so much, Fawcett.
Thank you so much for that, AV. And Lisa, I'm going to come to you. I did also want to shout out a $20 cash app from N. Allen. She says, for a great stream. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. We know you know how hard it is. But Lisa, I'm going to come to you about YouTube specifically, or social media in general. Is it helping or hurting?
I'm going to say no on social media, especially for our young people, because I want them to know it is forever. When you put something out there, a picture or a video, it is out there forever. But as far as YouTube goes, I enjoy YouTube, if only just for the information on like the how-to stuff, how to research something, going on trips. You never been somewhere, just getting general information about stuff, and just hearing someone else's experience, and also like what we're doing. That's why it was. I feel like we came and decided to go public with what we're doing behind the scenes on Patreon, and coming out and talking to young people again. So I think the way we're doing it is useful, and I'd like to see more of it. Some of the other stuff, maybe not, but I think what we're doing and more stuff like this is what's needed. So I say yes for YouTube.
All right, Hermeisha, I'm going to come to you, and I know that we are at almost at time. We did have a question about why this is so early. Again, we know this is 12 o'clock on the East Coast, but Melanie and I are in London. It is actually 4 p.m. 5 p.m. here, so we had to make it work. But Hermeisha, what do you say about social media?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's not the social media that's the issue. It's how we use social media. So I think it just comes down to exercise prudence, have self-awareness. Something's not good for you, don't click on it. If you're talking about minors, I think that's a different discussion. But there could be some good benefits of social media. You guys only see me online because obviously the Wives Club, but I run businesses as a clinician and a coach. So I run it remotely, so my clients are online. But just be wise in how you utilize it. It's not the social media, it's who are the people behind social media? What are we putting out there? What's our heart disposition? What's our motives? Everybody has a motive of why they do what they do. The analyst and me, everybody has a why. So just know your why when you're online and adjust accordingly.
Is it me? Is it Maggie there? Okay.
I think we lost Maggie. We lost
Oh,
Maggie.
I'm here. The Uber
Okay.
driver called. I left my wallet in the Uber. It's a lot.
Oh,
He's going to bring
no.
it back. I know it's a lot. Okay. So, Hermeisha, I didn't know if you needed to drop. I saw we had a lot of questions, but I did ask for an hour. So I'll let the ladies decide. Do we want to take more questions or do we need to go ahead and wrap?
I'm good.
I'm good too.
Okay.
Finish
All
up,
right.
but I have like the only thing we just got in today.
Yes.
And literally, guys, mediocre tutorials. My sister, my cousin, and a couple other people are waiting for me. And so, but I would love to do another one with you guys. But I want to answer this question really quickly because I think all the answers were really good. And I go for the same stance. I don't think anything is inherently good or bad. It's who you are that makes it. I know when I go on social media, I'm looking at puppies. I look at motivation, encouraging things. I'm the stuff I'm putting out, whether it's fun or people find, encouragement through it or valuable information. The only thing I can control is what I digest and what I cook. So whatever I'm cooking in my kitchen and I'm putting out, if it's trash, that's what it's going to attract. I'm putting trash into the world. But if I'm putting out something healthy, something engaging, something that puts a smile on someone's face, something that helps them or encourages them, then that's my world. We live in the world, but you don't have to be of the world. I have this on the top of Instagram that says, Matthew says, many are called, but few are chosen. So we're all, called to this higher plane, this higher level of positivity and growth. But we live, everyone's called to it, but very few answer the call. Very few get chosen to do that. So I think we've got to take away kind of like this. I want to say this is how I used to be, a little more Pollyanna kind of view of the world. Like this is the world as it is. And even the world the way it is today, if you look historically what people used to go through, if you want to go back even just a little bit to slavery, if you want to go back to, I mean, there's so many things in history that were way worse than social media is today, guys. So I think a lot of times we catastrophize, things that are in our face. But if we're honest, it is what we make it. Whatever we put out, whatever we choose to digest and eat, it is whether it's positive or negative. And so I don't like to make these global things as something all good or something all bad, because it's the person that's it's their choice on whether it is or not. So that's my stance. Uh-oh, did we lose everybody?
No, we're still
Oh,
here.
okay.
Thank you so much. But Melanie, I think what I heard you say, and I know I want to just go ahead and thank you for being available. Melanie flew overnight, you all, and just landed today. I know she is incredibly tired. So we are so grateful to have you here and thank you. And I heard you say you would love to do another collab. So we will
I
connect.
would. I think this is
Oh,
amazing.
oh, thank
I
you for
really
saying.
do. I'm like excited about it. Like low key, I'm like cheesing. You guys see me cheesing the whole time. So go ahead.
We appreciate that, and we appreciate you so much for being here. So we'll go ahead and let Melanie drop, and then the ladies and I will continue on with the questions. But everybody, please put Melanie King in the chat. Her link to her channel is in the description. Please follow her. She's on all social. Melanie, did you want to
You
say
know what?
anything
No,
else?
up and I didn't, because I was rushing around trying to get this all, like literally this phone is on a trash can right here, like you should see, and I had to like get all the stuff off the bed in case you guys saw. So this is really really, but I didn't get a chance to share the link, so please share the YouTube link. So I'm going to post that to my channel after everything's wrapped up. I didn't get a chance to do it, so I apologize. It's been a hot mess, guys, today, but we're getting it together. And we're doing something with Pearl tomorrow, so that should be fun and interesting, and something with MTR throughout the weekend with everybody. So, guys, stay.
Absolutely. So, yes, we will share the link to this conversation with you. You all, please follow Melanie King. She's also in London, going to be working with Pearl and MTR. So, good stuff is coming. So, Melanie, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and drop you down and let you have your
Okay.
afternoon. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
thank you, ladies.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. All right, everyone. Okay, so if we're good to take some more questions, I will continue. I've been trying to manage the chat, so I'm just going to pick a question at random. You all, I'm just scrolling, and thank you all for all of the engagement. We appreciate you so much. Let's see. I'm looking for questions. Questions. Yes, I see we've got a lot of new people watching for the first time. Again, some questions about why the time change. Um, yeah, so just know that some of us are traveling, so apologies for all of the. All right, let's see. I'm scrolling back. We had a question here from DJ Cryo says, and was this a question or a response? How would young ladies know what a man needs to be great in a marriage if a man is not telling you? We'll take this as a question and I'll try and speak to it and then we'll take a lap around. So there's two parts to this. So I know this subject is about the older women teaching the young. And for me, I think that's a very good foundation. We talked about, some of the basic skills. Hermeisha talked about submission. AV talked about conflict resolution. But one of the things that Kevin often used to say is that we as women should customize ourselves to our man. So you kind of have that basic like home training and that example that's set for you, but when you meet your husband or the man that you are vetting or being vetted for, your job is to do the work to actually customize yourself so that you can get on his program. So the men do have input when they are picking a wife, but she needs to be, like we say, wife ready. All right, AV, I'll let you take a stab at that one. How do young ladies know if a man is not telling you?
I would say go find the answer. And I know that sounds a little straightforward, and I don't mean for it to come off as being crass, but I would say ask the people around you. You have to ask. And if you don't ask, you're not going to have the answer. And if you don't ask from the people that are around you, go off into the space and try to find it. There's plenty of people that are talking about relationships here on the internet. Where you can get a general sentiment of what men are looking for. But that means that you're going to have to go to men to get the answer to these questions. Here in the Wives Club, we have a lot of men that support us. We like to say that this channel is almost powered by men, but look around in the chat. Look at how many men are here. They're very vocal about how they feel about certain things, and they're very vocal about what they're looking for in relationships. This is a great place to start. If anybody's watching and they're looking for a place to see what the men are feeling like, even if they don't tell you, you have to be resourceful finding where those answers are. That's what Kevin said to me. He had asked me in one of our sessions, like how I was going out and finding information about relationships and who I was listening to. And he's just like, you need to ask men. He's like, come on, AV, you can't really, other women are not going to be able to give you the answers to what men want. Men are going to be able to give you the answers to what men want, right? But what we can do as women is at least aid in showing you where those resources are, right? So this is a great place to start. But it's literally all around you. There are men in our lives every single day, family members, friends. Sometimes I have some male friends that I run things by, especially when I was really early on in the dating process. I would ask them questions if certain behavior was normal, things like that. But there's so many resources that are out there. But I would really, really encourage you guys to just keep an ear to the ground. Listen to what these gentlemen are saying. Listen to what they are saying that they want. And then start doing what they say that they want. So that's how I would answer this one.
All right, fantastic. So, Lisa, I'm coming to you. So, the question was, how are women supposed to know if a man is not telling them how to be wife ready? What do you say to that?
I would say you can refer to, if he's not telling you and you're asking, then refer to the elders in your life, refer to the women in your life, and also the men. If you've got a dad or a grandpa or uncle, guy's not giving me the right signals or telling me what I can do or something. And also like something like what we're doing, if you don't have the women in your community to do so, something like the Wives Club, speaking with like-minded women with the same kind of mindset and stuff, what we're doing would help if you don't have any alternatives. So hopefully that helps.
All right, fantastic. Hermeisha, you are up. So the question was, how would young ladies know what needs to be great in a marriage if a man is not telling you?
Yeah, this is why we're here. Come, keep listening, and find women that you can trust, to speak over you. A lot of people, there's a lot of noise out there. Everybody's speaking a lot of things out there, right? But Kevin always said, watch less what a woman says, but what a woman does. So watch what we say, but also watch what we do, how we're modeling this. This is real life for us. This is why we exist. So I would say simply find women that you can trust, not only their word, but they're backing their word up with their action. And I'll just leave it there.
Thank you so much, Hermeisha. All right, so I have a couple questions about my voice. Trish is asking, what course did I take to refine my speech? I've taken several etiquette and elegance classes. If you inbox me offline, I will send you the links. And thank you so much, Chantel, for the compliment as well. I appreciate when you all say that because I'm a little self-conscious that my voice has gotten lower as I've gotten older. And so when you say that, I really appreciate it. We'll take another round of questions. Again, thank you all for being flexible with the time change, but some of us are traveling. Let's see if there's anything else here. And I see all of the comments that you all are enjoying the conversation, and especially those of you all who share our channel with the women that you love. Again, the Wives Club is open to anyone who has a marriage mindset, whether you are married, used to be married, or want to be married. I saw that Brandon had some questions specific to Melanie King. And again, we only had her for an hour today. She flew overnight and landed this morning, and she's taking this call with us. So we wanted to go ahead and respect her time. But I am so grateful. She said that she'd be willing to do this again. All right. So we have a question here from Hot Streak. I don't know if this was an actual question, but we can adjust it. What are any cooking wife hacks or simple ways to make your family and husband's life easier? All right, so I'll take a stab at this one and then we'll go around. So again, it goes with studying your man. One of the things that I believe Kevin used to talk about, but I'm a big believer in anticipating his needs. So of course, there's the basics that come with keeping a home, but learning your husband's schedule and his routine is paramount to being a support system for him. Lisa has talked often about being a blue collar wife and supporting a second shift husband, which means, someone who doesn't work a 9 to 5, he starts later in the day and comes home at night. So whether it is, meal preparation, packing things for him, making sure the house is quiet, if he's sleeping in different hours, making sure, either his clothes are either dry cleaned or you're taking care of themselves, but that's going to be different based on the man that you have. So that's what I would recommend, really studying your man. And then like Avi said, ask him, find out what he likes and try to be useful to him. So that would be a hack or a skill that I would share. All right, Avi, I'm coming to you. Any hacks or tips that you can give to be useful?
Yes, absolutely. I have a really, really good one. But before I say anything, 2 Cash Apps that I want to shout out. Shout out to Out Here Trucking, brother. Thank you so much for the Cash App. It means the world. You have no idea. And then also to the Real Bravado Network, who strongly supports this channel. Thank you so much. He says, support for the Wives Club, in parentheses, KS approve. I love that. Thank you so much, Real Bravado Network, who's also a content creator, guys. Please check him out if you haven't already. Okay, this is gold. Kevin told me this in our discussion. And I do this in so many different facets of life, whether it is work, whether it is partnerships, whether it is friends, but especially when it comes to relationships. Lighten the burden without him having to ask you. That's it. I mean, if I could highlight that and put it on a flag and wave it around everywhere, like that's such a huge superpower. It's like being helpful to someone without them having to ask. So that means paying attention to things. You know, sometimes I do this for family members where if I notice that they need something, or you know, I'm kind of watching them. Like if I know that they have like a, I don't know, let's say it's a raggedy sweater. After a while, I'm gonna try to get them one for Christmas or something because I know it was a need. I've paid attention to that need. And then when it comes to delivering that need, the seeing the joy and the surprise on somebody's face when you can be helpful in that way is really, really huge. So I would say that that is a huge superpower, huge hack, but you can translate it in many different facets of life as well.
Absolutely. All right. If Lisa's still with us, Lisa, I'm going to come to you, but I do want to shout out two more Cash Apps. Thank you so much, Out Here Trucking, also for the $25 Cash App. And he says, thanks for the wrench. And yes, and I want to speak to that. So we are the Wives Club, created by Kevin Samuels and powered by men. And we are intentional about why we say that. There is a reason why these ladies and I met for going on 3 years now privately within the Patreon, because we know that the message can be controversial and we want it to be helpful. But we got a lot of encouragement specifically from the men in our lives to get this message out. So, you'll notice that there's a theme amongst our moderators. And for the men that are here, we appreciate you and we need you, and we believe in your covering. So thank you for that. And then also another $25 Cash App from the Real Bravado Network. And he says, for support, the same thing, supporting the Wives Club, just like he told AV, and it's Kevin Samuels approved. So yes, we definitely want to keep him proud. All right, so it looks like Lisa's dropped for a second. So Hermeisha, I'll come to you. Do you have any wife hacks or simple ways to make your family or husband's life easier for the homeschooling mom?
Ooh. Well, couple of things. Cash apps. Again, thank you, Real Bravado. Yes, KS approved. $25 Cash App. Natasha and Alan, thank you so much for the $20 Cash App. And Alan LaRoche, I think I said that correctly. Thank you for the $5 Cash App. So I would say, you know, there's many. The biggest thing I did that was helpful for my husband at the time was I just got up before him, and I was up. He was in the military at the time, but I got up about like 4:30, 5 o'clock. I had breakfast ready. I had everything ready, packed and ready for him, because that just made his day smoother. And so I think really at the end of the day, there's so many different hacks, but it's just really anticipating your husband's needs. I think that's the theme I'm hearing, where just you're just, you know, your man, you know what he needs, and you're just doing that. Right. For me, I had to be an early riser. That's what he needed, because he was out the door very early. Right. And it helped me because I got workout. Everything was done by like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And then I had the day to study for my licensure at the time. But I would say being able to anticipate his needs. The other thing I would say, I don't know necessarily life hack, but if you could hone in this skill, I think it'd be amazing. Being able to speak to the spirit of your man, where you are inspiring him with your words. So maybe he's got a big deal he has to make, or a trying day at work, or it's just a regular day at work. But you want to encourage him and inspire him, and always plant seeds of affirmation, right? Because that really just sets the tone for his day, and he's going to be looking forward to getting home. So I would say those little things like that. I mean, we can get into the organizational stuff. I did a lot of that as a homeschooling mom, calendars, schedules, but really, I would say speaking to the spirit of your man and anticipating his needs. And I think somebody else said it, without him opening his mouth, and you're just already on it. That's it. They love that.
And I love it too, Hermeisha. All right, Lisa, I'm coming to you. So the question was, oh, no, we already answered that one. Do you have any wife hacks? It could be cooking or any other simple ways that you make your family and your husband's life easier.
Probably being prepared, excuse me, preparation, preparation of the home so it runs kind of like a business. And I think someone else mentioned anticipation, uh, and just being prepared. Another thing is, let's see, running like a business, because like the shopping and stuff you have to do. I mean, you shop for it, but if you don't have the staples at home, if you don't already have flour and sugar, you buying eggs and meat or something, but you don't have everything to go with it. So you just having all that prepared and ready to go, and that's just something to take off his plate. And I don't know, was this a two-part question or just it was another question coming after this?
That was the question that we had. We can
Okay.
do another lap if you ladies like. I did see a question here from Jordan, and this question says, "What about the women that say, 'Why would I do that when you don't do that for me?'" I think Hermeisha, if she has said it once, she said it 100 times about heart posture. But really, the assumption that I have made here in the Wives Club is that we are only talking about being a wife to a man who is a husband. So we can talk about it in another stream about, I think we did have a question about wife versus girlfriend, but this one is a little bit difficult for me because it assumes we are equal. It has a little bit of tit for tat undertones, and we are equally important, but we are definitely not equals. In most relationships, there's usually more of a breadwinner, and then there's more of a support system, unless you choose to be that type of like 50-50 marriage. I've just said, be mindful and be prepared to do it all the way until you're 65. So I think there's so much wrong with that question. If you don't do it for me, there are so many things that men do that kind of go unknown and unappreciated. So I would say lead with just serving. That's part of being a woman anyway. And if you do everything that you're supposed to do, um, unless you just picked poorly, you are going to be appreciated. It may not be reciprocated in the same way, but when you allow a man to love you and to show it in his own way, believe me, you want that better than what you could have contrived. All right, AV, I'm coming to you. What do you
Listen,
say about?
I had to
Uh-oh.
get the fan out for this one because what a question. What a question. But I mean, I totally agree with Maggie, so I'm not going to take long on this one. All I can say is that person is not, not, N-O-T, not a wife. And that's just it. Like wives move differently. We've been trying to show you guys that. We've been trying to tell you guys that week over week. That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about women that are not going to be willing, that would have that type of response. So I think at the end of the day, you want a wife, and if you're looking for that, then they would do the correct thing. And I just want to shout out something that Brandon said in the chat, that was super, super interesting. And I think it was, a great wife makes a man not want to leave the house for work and can't wait to get home from work. Brandon, that is correct. I just had to get you the soundboard for that one, Brandon. I think that's the quote of the stream. That's all I have on that one, Mag.
Oh my goodness. I absolutely love it. All right. So, Lisa, I am coming to you. I just want to shout out one more Cash App from Scam Likely. How many times have we seen your call on our phones? And he's looking like he's going to be another friendly troll. He sends $10 for the Trolluminati donation. So, thank you so much for that. All right, Lisa, I'm coming to you. What do you say to the women who say, "Why would I do that when you don't do it for me?"
Why would I do that? You don't do it for me. I don't know why you would say that, but like my husband just left for work. He's gonna go work on aircraft and stuff. And sometimes they're outside, sometimes they're inside, and they have to lift things. I can't lift something that weighs 25 pounds. I can't lift. He lifting. I don't know what they're lifting, but I cannot do that. He does that every day, all day, and watches people or helps manage people do that, and make sure people don't lose a limb or something. Don't ask me to do that. It's cold out there on the flight line or wherever he's going to be at. So I mean, ask him to come in here and make some biscuits or something. No, I can do that. You can be out there doing all that. No. It's not even because we're not even. We're not equal or whatever. So, no. My husband does more than enough for me. I don't know if but there's a reason for that, and it's just like it's the we were made to help men. That's what we're here for. So I'm here to support my husband, and um, it's hard to hear that when young ladies say that. That's what they're thinking, because I don't think they want to do it in the reverse, or they're not thinking all the way through. So, hopefully they'll come here and they'll listen to what we're saying, and we'll make it make sense for them. That's why it's important. We can break it down and say, you know what, this is why this doesn't make sense from a female perspective, and this is why you should not. So, and hopefully, I think that'll have the young ladies coming back and keep them keep them coming with questions like that. But that's a good way to put it. But I would not. I said what I want to say about it, so I'm just going to move on. But yeah, and I also want to thank some people for some cash apps. I got from AL, I got a $5 one. Thank you so much, appreciate it. I got a cash app from N Allen for 20. Thank you for your support, sister. And I think Real Bravado Network came through with a $25 cash app. So thank you all so much. We really do appreciate it, and that just lets us know that we're doing the good work. So y'all appreciate us. So thank you.
Absolutely. All right, Hermeisha, you are up. What would you say to a woman who says, "Why would I do that for you when you don't do it for me?"
I'm trying to choose my words. you know, um, because you're just supposed to. How about that? How about that? Just do your part. What are you called to do? Take accountability and do what you're just called to do, right? Because when we start looking at, well, what I do is dependent upon what you do, then that's really a tit for tat, and you're really in it for what you can get out of it, rather than you putting in and planting a seed and being able to receive the fruit of that. You're looking at what can I get out of that first, and he needs to do this, and it's transactional, and you're never going to win with that type of mindset. So I would say, if you know what you're supposed to be doing, just do what you're supposed to be doing, and we'll just leave it there.
I love it. All right, everybody. We can continue to take your questions. Jordan is agreeing. Brenda is talking about being of service. It's a sacrifice. Yes, I mean, that's one of the things that Kevin always used to talk about. And it used to kind of hurt my heart a little bit, but he would compare us modern women to the women of old. And he basically let us know about ourselves that we didn't have what it took. We did not have what it took. So we're here to help and to hopefully turn the tide on that. I did see a question here about words of affirmation. I'm going to try and get back to that. Luke Hazley says she makes sure her hubby doesn't even want to leave the house and he prefers to work from home. I love that. All right, so we have a question here from Hot Streak, and Hot Streak says, "What are some empowering phrases you can speak to inspire your man and husband?" So I'll take a stab at this, and this one is a little bit personal for me, but Hermeisha talked about speaking life to a man, and it comes from when you have a good one, and um, the world can be a very cruel place, and I'm very particular about this one, especially being a boy mom, but especially for the men in our community. One of the episodes that Kevin had that just broke me was when that woman would not smile, and she gave him such a hard time about smiling at him. You don't know what it does to a man who basically has to eat you know what for 10 years and then go out in the world every day and make something of himself to still not be respected or appreciated, for you to just smile and tell him, "I love you. I believe in you. I trust you. I'm proud of you. I need you. I want you. I support you. And I'm here for you." So, those are just some of the things that I say. And it matters. At the end of the day, We are all human beings and we want to feel needed and loved and important. So, those are some of the things that I do without having to be asked, but just to be intentional to love him up before he goes back out into the world. So, AV, I'm going to come to you. What are some empowering phrases you can speak to inspire your man?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's on that list, Maggie. And shout out to BLJ who says, Maggie, stay cooking in and outside of the kitchen. Okay. We got Maggie over here cooking today. I would say I would just add two things. One thing that I would add is, you know, when I'm with someone that is treating me well, I make sure that they know that they're doing that. Right. Meaning that I would tell them, like, hey, I see how you've been treating me. That's very, very different from anything I've experienced, right? So when I do have those really, really good moments, I'm really adamant about celebrating that, or at least mentioning it, when it comes to words of affirmation. And then also just like when you're living in the moment and you really do feel loved in that moment in time, I think it's really good to let the other person know that at the moment where it's happening, not later, not a week from now, not a month from now, not when things are bad or during an argument. It's like in that moment, let them know. So that's the only thing I would add.
I love that. Wonderful. All right, Lisa, coming to you. What are some words that you can say to inspire and affirm your man?
Um, I think what I was reminded of yesterday was that I need you. I need you. And someone important told me about that yesterday, and I had to let someone know that I needed them. So I think I needed you, or I need you is an important one. I think I think it was The Best Man. Like they did the whole um, finale of it maybe a couple months ago, and I watched that. And one of the characters in there that stayed single and independent the whole time was Nia Long's character. And I watched the other movies, and it was just like the one thing she wouldn't do was like let people know, let the guys in her life know that she loved them or that she needed them. Because every time when they come back to a new movie or show, she didn't have someone. She was forever single. And I was like, all she had to do was just say, I needed you, or I love you, or, something. And that's all the guys wanted to hear. So, so I find it interesting when I watch some of the movies of my, that I've watched in the last 20 years, how the female characters, certain ones, it's just a few little words that the guy just is all he needed to know that you wanted him. And they just, I need you, because we do need them. We're here for them and they're here for us. So I think, and thankfully I was reminded yesterday that I need you. That's the one I would say.
I love that. It's so powerful. A little goes a long way. All right, Hermeisha, your turn. Speak life. What are some empowering phrases you speak to inspire your man or husband?
This is my favorite. So I would say, I am thankful for you. You make me better. And no amount of money can garner my submission. That's what I would say. I say a couple more things, but it's lunch hour.
All right. Well, I am clear. AV's got the fan. We are cracking up. All right, everybody. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I do want to take a moment. I'll scan through for more questions, but I do want to talk about communication. I know Trisha's messaged me asking about some courses that I've taken to refine my speech, but and I will share that, but I wanna do a lap just around communication and just give some general tips because I've gotten a lot of feedback, and I feel like you all have heard me say, that I used to shout when I spoke, and I didn't know, being corporate and just kind of being in that masculine environment, it came on me. So one thing that I've had to learn, men and women communicate differently. You all know Kevin. If there was one thing that would get his blood boiling, you are not going to overtalk him. And, whether you know it or not, that type of conversation style is quite masculine. So I've done a lot of work to lower my speed and lower my volume so that less is more. And then also, understanding that men are problem solvers by nature. And as women, we like to give all the flowery details. Shout out to our flowery dresses today. But making sure that I am clear in communicating, especially with a man. If I'm telling you something that is just to inform you, I lead with that and say, I'm not asking you to do anything. I just want to tell you this. But if I'm hoping that you will give me direction or make a decision, I will lead with that and say, I'm not sure whether I should do A or B, and here are the reasons why. So I just try to understand how a man processes because they can get lost in the sauce when we do all of this stuff. And then the last thing I would offer, recording yourself. That was one of the homework assignments I had in some of the etiquette classes, but having a YouTube channel or any kind of space, whether it's Zoom meetings where you see yourself and you watch it back and you kind of cringe at all the things that you hate, that's necessary to help you get better. So a lot of it is just practice, but I do want to do a lap around that with communication. So Lisa, anything that you have learned or you can offer in relationship when it comes to communication?
In relation to communication, I would say, for me, being open to taking the time to kind of digest what's been, because a lot of problems I have is listening, without interrupting. It's still a work in progress for me. It's something I struggle with, but I do being mindful of that. And when I'm in a conversation, just listening and taking a pause, taking it all in. And if I have a question or if I need something repeated, ask for that and not just go off of what I thought I heard. So that's what I would say. And just being open to, if you have issues or if you have communication issues like I do myself, being open to look into ways to or resources to help correct that, or ways you can maneuver around it if need be, because everything cannot be helped. I've learned through therapy and stuff, but some things can, and it also takes work. So having someone to practice it. So my husband and I, we with me, we practice little conversations that my therapist told me. So um, and then it's kind of like it's also about memory and the place in the conversation. I'm kind of forgetting it now, but I do practice that with my husband, so that helps. That has helped me a lot in my relationship. So thanks.
All right, AV, I'm coming to you. So, what have you learned or any tips about communication, especially in a relationship with a man?
Yeah, I would say to pause very often. I think, especially me, I had been single for quite some time and I was so used to doing whatever I needed to do at work and being in law school and just saying whatever was on my mind the minute I felt it. And sometimes that is just not the right way to go. Especially when it comes to relationships. I think sometimes we have, and this is just something I've learned about myself, sometimes I can be very reactive without taking a moment to breathe and think before reacting. And that professionally was an important thing to work on because if I'm going to school to be a lawyer, I probably need to take a second or two before I respond to something and really take a moment to think about it. So I have kind of slowly started to train myself to pause in communication, but also give it like a second or two before you respond to someone. So that way it's also like, hey, I'm putting that pause in. So it's showing the other person, I'm actually listening to you. I'm processing what you're saying, but I'm going to respond in a way that makes sense. I'm from the North, guys. There's a lot of things that I've picked up in these corporate boardrooms in these meetings from people, Massachusetts accent and all. Like there's this thing, and Maggie's been on top of me. She has been on top of me, like her thumb. She's like, you're not going to move, AV. You need to know that you're doing this. I do this thing. It's almost like a sentence filler. I say, yeah, no, which is like, if you think about it, it's like you're telling somebody to go like this. Yes or no? What do you mean? I usually say, yeah, no, but that's a Massachusetts thing. Luckily, and I try to tell Maggie, I said, Maggie, listen, I'm not crazy. This is a thing up here. And, luckily these three ladies came up and we did a live podcast, on Friday. And, we went to dinner before that podcast and Maggie and Lisa were able to hear the Massachusetts accent. And I was like, see, I told you guys, I I wasn't crazy. This is just how people talk up here. Right. However, I've learned to kind of break some of those bad habits. When it comes to communication, all of us have sentence fillers, but pay attention to that sometimes because it can be rather confusing. But I would recommend pausing in between things sometimes and just taking a second to respond.
Absolutely. All right, Hermeisha, I'm coming to you, but I'm going to make an announcement, you all. I'm watching the chat, and for the first time ever in the Wives Club, I am dropping the link. We have about 20 more minutes. We'll continue to do Q&A, but if you have had a burning desire to come up on the panel, I have dropped the link. You can click it, and we will give it a try. So, Hermeisha, what would you like to share about your communication, anything that you've learned when talking to a man?
Oh, yes. Tone, your tone. But more than whatever comes out your mouth, and this is what I had to practice in like the mirror, is 90% of our communication is nonverbal. You know how they say, you fix your face? Right? And a lot of us say smile, whatnot. But yeah, so even your posture, your eyes, all of that is communicating a welcoming or defensive stance before you even open your mouth. And so that's something that I've been intentional with, in my tone, my eye contact, my posture, how I'm looking, even how I'm looking at the camera like this, or even when I shared about some of the words and how I leaned in. All of that matters because they're getting the full message of what you're trying to convey. Even if your words are not, if you're struggling with the right words, your body is going to be helping to deliver the heartbeat of your message. So that's what I would say. And this is important because believe it or not, you all, I had a stutter. So this is growth for me to be up here on the YouTube live like this, right? So slowing down your speech, your body language, your eye contact, your posture, the smiles, all of that matters in communication.
I absolutely love that. And I don't see anybody in the back yet, so we will keep going. I'll take a look at some of the comments. You guys have given us so much engagement. I thought this one was interesting. Brandon says, am I the only one that finds it weird to see Gail in the chat without a wrench? You know what? Gail has earned a break. Gail works so hard. And, again, our community is powered by men. And I think, Brandon, you call it light work. The Wives Club, again, is for anyone with a marriage mindset. And again, some of you all are newer to us, but if you go back and you listen to Kevin Samuel's content, shout out to the Godfather, may he rest in peace. One of the things that used to confuse me is when women would call him and they would be asking whatever they would ask him about relationships, and he would say, but are you a wife? And I always used to think, why is he asking her that? Obviously, she's not married. That's why she's calling you. But it really is about carrying yourself as a wife first. And what we do in the Wives Club, because there's so much other content out there. And I say, please get whatever you can from wherever you can. But there really was a void in the community of the older women being honest about what they've gotten right and wrong and sharing that knowledge and those lessons learned. And believe it or not, even if it were just the four of us, we always felt better after we were done with the Wives Club. So, Gail, you are welcome to rest. What does Rodney say? Your body language delivers the heartbeat of your message. I'm telling you, Rodney is getting it. Absolutely. Gail says, as a fraud investigator, I like to be thorough, but I've learned to switch it off when talking to the man. Absolutely. I see somebody in the back here. So, for the first time, we are going to welcome to the Wives Club Miss Bella Rings. Can
Hi.
you unmute yourself? Hello. Did you want to cam up or did you want to
Hello.
stay up?
No, I'm at home with my baby. I am not ready to cam up, but I am a content creator. So some people in the chat may have seen me on other channels. So hello, ladies. Good afternoon. Good morning. Hello, chat.
All right, come on in. What did you want to share or ask in the Wives Club?
Yes, absolutely. I just wanted to say you ladies have dropped so many gems. I am married. I've been with my husband for 4 years. We've been married for almost 1 year next month. And I completely agree that I've learned so much of the things that you ladies have spoken of. I learned those things with getting to know my husband and ultimately marrying him. And I wanted to kind of touch on what Hermeisha said, and even AV, is ladies understand that your, as we say nowadays, vibe or your aura affects the home. It affects the environment. So when you think about that and when you understand that, if you're in a bad mood, he's going to be in a bad mood. And so that's something that I had to learn, because I would, be moody or whatever. And my husband would say, do you realize that you having an attitude or your tone or your demeanor affects me? And the more I internalize that, that's when my everything changed. My femininity increased, my self-awareness increased, and it's definitely increased the peace in our home. So that's something I kind of wanted to add. And thank you, ladies, for these wonderful conversations.
Thank you so much, Bella. We appreciate you and congratulations. We love a newlywed. We absolutely do. That's what we want. More nuclear families and marriages in the community. So happy and thank you. If you want, you can shout out your channel. I will say Real Bravado Network. Absolutely, you can come on up. Everybody is welcome here. But yeah, Bella, before you drop, if you want to shout out your channel.
Sure, absolutely. My channel is at Bella Rings. Just type in Bella Rings and I should pop up. I have the same icon, and I've got a few videos up that are, wife related, how to get the ring, how to become a wife related content, because I understand that some young ladies and some girls, they were led astray. They don't know where to start. And so I want to help awaken the wives within girls and young women. So thank you for these conversations, ladies, and I will continue to be in the chat. Thank you so much for this opportunity for speaking with you guys.
Absolutely. All right. So Bella is going to go ahead and drop down. And I have dropped the link again, y'all. We do have a hard stop at, I believe it would be 2 p.m. Eastern. So we got a little over 10 more minutes and then we will close it out. I'll give you all a little bit of housekeeping while we are waiting for the next guest, Real Bravado, if you want to come up. So again, the Wives Club, usually we are here for you all on Friday evenings, East Coast time. Thank you for being flexible with us because of travel. So there will not be a Wives Club episode this coming Friday. So you have Friday night off. So we will be with you all next week, Friday. I believe that is the 24th. And we did get another message request about wife duties versus girlfriend duties. So if you all ever have any topics that you want us to cover, and especially the men, since you all are so strong here and we appreciate that. I know several of you share our content with your sisters or your loved ones. If there's anything that you think would be more palatable coming from us, we would love to cover that for you. So we have someone else in the back. I'm going to bring him up. You all know him and you love him. We got TJ Moore, aka Real Bravado Network. Come on in. Hello. What do you got?
Hey, how you guys doing? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sure can.
Yeah.
Okay, because I got a brand new setup, and on the mastermind thing,
Wow.
nothing
Looks
was working.
good.
Nothing was working, and all that. Ladies, do you guys know how angry people are gonna be with how you guys think and talk and the subjects? Let me tell you something. I work around a lot of ladies because I work in the hospital. I'm around a lot of nurses, a lot of CNAs, a lot of administrators, and they love to talk about me because they love to talk with me because they think I'm crazy because I talk about this stuff. So I've actually showed some of your content to a lot of the nurses and the CNAs during my downtime, and they just think you guys are crazy. They think I'm crazy, but then my favorite question to ask people is, I say, well, if we're the ones that is crazy, then show me where what you're doing is working. And then it gets very quiet. It's my favorite thing to ask, people when we get into these discussions about behaviors with one another and how we interacting with one another. How's it working out for you? Where's your husband? Where's your family? Where's all of this stuff that you guys are talking about? I want to share two quick stories with you guys, and I want to hijack you guys' platform or anything like that. But the going back to when you guys talking about the smiling thing, when Kevin brought that up, first of all, nothing Kevin talked about was new. There was nothing new that he talked about. There's no new information, no anything. But it was the first time that our women in mass were hearing it for the first time. And it's not like that they hadn't been told before. They just wasn't able to hear it. So I'll tell people all the time, sometimes you need the right messenger for the message, So, but I was at a grocery store about 3 weeks ago. And sisters don't speak. They don't smile. They'll even turn away from you if they think you've been looking in their direction. Well, we were in a long line, and this lady behind me, my back's to her. She just starts talking to me. It was kind of surreal because I didn't realize she was talking to me, and we had a whole 10-minute conversation. And she was so pleasant. It was a Black woman. She was so pleasant. When we got to the checkout, I paid for her groceries. For her husband, and absolutely. Because it was such a rare thing and it meant so much to me that I go out into this world and people who look like me won't even speak to me. Like how is that a thing now? So yeah, and I ended up having her call. She was ended up being married. I had to call her husband. I told her that. I said, she's a good representation of you. And he was like, oh, we got to do something for her. I said, no, don't do anything for me. Just pay it back. Just pay it back some other way down the line and stuff like that. You guys don't understand, like, those little things that guys, that especially Black men, we do not get affirmations. We do not get spoken to. We do not get smiled at. We don't get those on a regular basis. I mean, it happens in drips and drabs, but we can probably, if most Black men kept track, we can probably count on one hand in a year how many of those things actually happens to us. So yeah, I just wanted to say that, and you guys are doing a wonderful thing and a wonderful service. I just kind of hope, I don't know, some days I'm hopeful for us, and then other days I'm like, ugh, I don't know. I have no idea. But the fact that you ladies from all different walks of life are coming together with this common goal, you guys are going to do some good work. And as you guys grow and progress on your channels, on this channel, trust and believe you're going to get a lot of pushback, because they're just we've bought into this anti-family, anti-wife, anti-submission. And to a degree, and I talk about it a little bit on my platform, to a degree, our men have fallen in line with that. So, they get upset because on my channel, I call our men cowards. You cannot be expecting respect from the world, and you can't tell your woman where to go jump off at if need be. You can't be that afraid. As a man, you can't be afraid of your own woman. How do you expect the world to respect you when you can't even be bold enough to tell your woman how you think, feel, and where things are supposed to be? Okay, she's gonna leave. Where she's gonna go? Don't nobody want her. Because look at it. Don't nobody want her. If you're looking at black demographics, 27% of our women or so are married. That means nobody's married. That means no one's married. 30. And I tell brothers all the time too. I said we got a slightly higher marital rate than our women. But don't brag about 33%. That's not that high either. So we got two group of people that don't nobody want, and we fighting each other, and we can have each other. So I don't know. Ladies, I didn't talk enough. Because trust and believe, on my stream tonight, and I'm sorry for the shameless plug, I'm interviewing 3 generations of Black women tonight, and I am terrified. I'm terrified to do this. But I'm going to do it. But thank you guys for inviting me up on your platform. And I'm sorry that I co-opted so much of it. And you guys keep doing what you're doing, okay?
No, you're totally fine, TJ. Thank you so much. And I was just about to ask you to shout out your channel, so I'll let you shout out your channel and what it's about. But on behalf of me and all the ladies in the Wives Club, you have been so supportive to us. Your presence here, your protection, your provision. I am here in my London Airbnb. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is always so nice to put a face to the name. So we'll drop you down, but if you want to just shout out your channel and what people can find there, and then we will wrap it up.
All right, thank you. Real Bravado Network, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Okay, everyone. Well, I saw Mr. Mustachio in the chat. We've got some people coming in, but we gave you all a, what do they call it? Like a double header. We gave you 2 hours today. So we are going to do our final lap. Thank you all so, so much for being here. Again, we are not going to have an episode this coming Friday, but we will see you all next week, Friday. If we didn't get to your questions, please keep them coming. We appreciate the engagement. So again, this episode was to answer one of Kevin's questions, and you all know Kevin touched all of our lives, and the ladies here, we had a one-on-one conversation with him either through a session or in the Patreon, and we are so happy to be able to do the work. And one of the things that TJ just said, as far as we know, there's going to be blowback, and we know there's going to be pushback, and now we know that people think we're crazy, but we are committed to this, and we are convicted about helping, even if it's just one. So we're going to keep going, and we appreciate you all being here and lifting us up. AV, any final thoughts as we close out?
Yes, ma'am. Had to unmute myself. Shout out to Real Bravado. Thank you for coming up, brother. Yes, I am in Boston. I am a local up here. And I saw the Northeastern shirt. It looks like you might have some affiliation up here. So really, really good to make that connection. But as far as final word, just want to say thank you to everyone that came out and supported us today. Really big thank you to Melanie King. For even during a travel day to still make the time to come on this show was huge. So huge shout out. Lots of love to Melanie, and really looking forward to talking to you guys next week.
All right, absolutely. And Lisa, any final thoughts as we close out today?
No, I enjoyed today's show. I enjoyed all this stuff we talked about. I hope we can. I know we're going to get Melanie back, so I'm just going to put it out there. She's going to come back. We're going to have some more stuff to talk about. And I enjoyed the questions that the audience gave us, and bringing on a few people on today was really exciting. So I think that's, I'm just excited for the future, and I can't wait to come back next week.
All right. And lastly, Hermeisha, we will let you, any final thoughts?
This was so good. And it was actually really good to put a face to the name and us dropping the link for the first time. That's so awesome. And, I'm just thankful to be here and how we're doing this. We're just speaking from our experience and hope that it reaches people. And so if it doesn't land for somebody, keep it pushing. But if you really want to learn, we're here. This is why we are here. And like I said last time, bring it, because it's going to make you a better woman. So we're excited about it.
All right, everybody. Thank you all so much. And again, a huge thank you to Melanie King. Again, she traveled, landed, and decided to join us in this collab. So the Wives Club is on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Please like the video and subscribe. You all are helping us to grow. We are over 500 subscribers. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate you all. Please enjoy the rest of your day or evening, and we will see you all on the next episode of the Wives Club. All right, everyone. Goodbye.